All right, everybody, now when we're gonna go ahead and work with our x-rays, we have two methods. We have phosphor plates as well as digital sensors. The digital sensors are always gonna be connected in the x-ray rooms, but when it comes to phosphor plates, we have two different ones, and we wanna make sure that we see what they are. They could do the completely same thing, but one has a little circle on the side and the other one has an A. They're right in the same corner. They do the exactly same thing, but this is going to be important to note when it comes to bagging properly. So with our clean hands, we are going to go ahead and rebag any of the plates that are good you find here. If you have some time, always make sure you are able to do so. It takes a few seconds, and then that way they're ready to use whenever we need. So we're always going to face the number of the sensor out in the clear window here. We're going to go ahead and put it where the circle or the A is going to be right next to the ceiling side. So once we do that, we take off the little adhesive protector, and then we seal it all together. Now this is a properly sealed x-ray phosphor plate. And when we take the exposure, it's always going to be, the exposure is going to be on this side. So that's a size 0. We're going to do the exact same thing with the size 1, and this one has the A on it. So we're going to go ahead and slip it in properly. And it's sealed properly. Now that we're ready to go ahead and either take a set and process the x-rays, we are going to go ahead and press the acquire button here with the scanner icon. And once it is all green, that gives us the indication that we are good to go. It's ready to scan any images. After we take a bite wing or whatever x-ray, we want to make sure that it's going to be nice and dry, clear from any saliva or anything like that. So we recommend you wipe it with a Kleenex, and with only your dirty fingers that you have dirtied, usually we use the index finger and the thumb. We are going to go ahead and open the package. Remember that since we cannot wipe these sensors down with any cavi wipe, we want to make sure we always keep them clean and we don't cross-contaminate them. So with our clean fingers, whether it be usually the middle and ring finger, it's easier to grab it. It helps if you grab it in a vertical way, and that way it's easier for you to load it onto the scanner. When we're loading it onto the scanner, the number and the black side of the film itself is going to be facing us, and then it's either going to be white or blue that's going to be facing the machine side. So we're just going to look for the size that corresponds with the scanner, with the film itself. And with our clean fingers, we just gently tap it in to make sure we help it just start scanning through. We never want to jam the sensor inside. It does take its time sometimes, just be patient. But once the image itself is scanned, it'll pop up directly onto the screen. And once you are done with your x-rays and everything, you could go ahead and discard any of the dirty wrappers, the dirty disposable barriers or anything like that, and then you could continue on with the disinfection phase of the whole process. We're gonna overview how to break down the x-ray room whenever either a hygienist is done or we are done taking x-rays. So first off, a few pointers we want to remember is, in order to ensure no cross-contamination, we are going to remove the barriers first, and also any dirty instruments, whether they be the XCP rings, the holders, snap arrays, even the tabs. We want to make sure nothing is in there anymore, and we remove it out of the space. So once we start, we have a dirty room here, and we're going to go ahead and remove all these barriers. The barrier for the tube head, the barrier for the x-ray digital sensor, the Genix. And I'm just gonna put this, anything that needs to go to the sterilization lab can be set aside here on top of a tissue to make sure that there's a barrier between the counter and the tissue itself. and the material itself, so we could put that there. Now you could go ahead and start wiping the x-ray room itself. Always make sure that even though there was a barrier on something, we still want to ensure proper disinfection, and we wipe down any of the areas that were touched. Sensor as well, we want to give it a nice gentle wipe. We don't want to pull too hard on the wiring, just to make sure that we keep our wires intact and always fully functioning. Keep it up there. The apron themselves, since they do touch the patient, we want to make sure that we get the thyroid collar, and it's easier to wipe it once it's hung up. And I do a quick little wipe to make sure it's nice and clean. And then we do every part of the chair, ensuring that our wipe is always leaving that wet residue on there. And we are not retouching anything with our gloves anymore after everything has been wiped. Now we're going to go to the control panel over here. There's another barrier that we are going to remove. And we make sure that we wipe that. If we used a panoramic, anything that was touched with our gloves while we were taking x-rays, we want to make sure we are wiping that properly all the way. Now once we're done with the x-ray room itself, we're going to come over to the computer little area. When I take this to the sterilization lab, I'm going to keep it wrapped up in the little tissue paper, but I am going to wipe everything again as well, taking off all of the barriers, wiping everything down again. Remembering to never touch anything with our dirty hand anymore, to make sure that cross-contamination does not happen. Once we've already disinfected our x-ray room completely, we are ready to set up the barriers that we need for the next person to use it right away. So we have our blue barrier tape here. We're going to go ahead and put a barrier tape on anything that we touch while we're doing the x-ray set. So that could be the mouse here, as well as the exposure button that's right here, right mounted on the wall. We always want to make sure that this is the exposure button right here, that's always covered, since that's the part that we're going to be touching the most. And we're going to go ahead and get a tube head cover. It's going to be this baggie here. And if we tie it right here on this side, we want to make sure that it's not too tight where the tube head can't be moved, but still it's not baggy where it's unnecessarily baggy like around here or anything like that. So this just helps ensure that it is nice and clean and everything is covered, and there's still motion to this. So now that that has been set up with, of course, clean hands, we are good to go for our next x-ray patient.